Thank you. Welcome to the Committee of the Whole meeting for Monday, March 17th, 2025. My name is Councillor Jennifer Miller, and I'll be chairing tonight's meeting. If you could please pause and reflect, I will read the land acknowledgement. On March 17th, 2025, we acknowledge that this sacred land on which Smiths Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We are grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We are also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smiths Falls. We are mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all of our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of generations to come. So I will call the meeting to order at 5:01 p.m. We have a motion about approval of the agenda, and that's moved by Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor McGuire, that the March 17th, 2025 Special Committee of the Whole meeting agenda be approved as circulated. All in favor? Carried. Any disclosure of pecuniary interests or conflicts of interest or general nature thereof? Seeing none, we have no approval of minutes, we have no delegations, and we have one CAO or director's report.
Good afternoon, committee. Just two quick reports from Development Services this evening. So on Thursday, March 6th, we hosted the Heritage Conservation District Open House in the Welcome Center boardroom. We had 19 attendees, including 3 virtual interviews that were set up to give us some direction on the Heritage Conservation District plan. So these numbers were better than what we'd seen for the through the Heritage Conservation District study phase, and I think that makes sense. We're moving beyond the more academic exercise of looking at the sort of the statutory criteria for HCD designation and developing the character analysis, and now getting into the more tangible planning process. So I think in this case we're at a more granular stage of the project and really looking at what's important to the community to recognize and protect. So we're certainly pleased with the attendance there. We have a survey on that's online and available at the front office as well, looking at gauging the community's priorities as it relates to architectural styles, overall development patterns, streetscaping, implementation tools like financial incentives, and really looking to get that feedback as to what we'd like to see included in the Heritage Conservation District plan. So that survey is available till March 28th, and then staff and our consultants will be taking that back and sort of beginning work on the plan. Secondly, with respect to community improvement plan, just a reminder that the deadline for the spring intake is March 31st. And we invite applicants to prospective applicants to pre-consult with staff first before finalizing the application. It's important to do that pre-consultation first because that gives us the ability to help the applicants, making sure that they have an application that stands the best chance of success for funding. So far, we've received 3 applications so far, and we've already held 9 pre-consultations and 3 more booked this week. So our experiences were, our planning clerk will likely be very busy the last week of March as applications come in, but just a reminder for council and for those watching at home, if you're interested in applying for one of our 15 programs, please reach out to us quickly so we can help you get started.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. I just wanted to acknowledge Director Clark, who's our acting CAO for tonight. Any further reports tonight? Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
Okay, moving into priority issues, we have Manager Crowder with the draft BRNE and investment attraction plan.
Good evening, Council. So today, staff and the consultants are here to introduce a new business retention and expansion and investment attraction strategic plan. It's typical for municipalities to do strategic planning in all areas of business. We had a strategic plan in 2019 that was developed by the other Economic Development Office, and it was a robust and ambitious plan, and included BRE, investment attraction, tourism, and marketing and communications. And it had 63 individual actions and really set the foundation for economic development and tourism in our community. And many of those initiatives and foundations we still use in our practices today. After COVID, and with that plan mostly executed, we thought it was time to do a new BRE, investment attraction plan, to continue on with some of the great work that has been done, but also to focus on new potential opportunities. So I'd like to introduce Brad Ferguson, Jesse Burns, and Emily Young from Optimus. They have a presentation and they're going to go through the plan, and we'll be here to answer any questions and to take comments. So I'll send it over to you, Jesse.
Great. Thank you very much, Julia. And Emily's going to pull up the presentation, and as she's doing that, I'll just start by saying thank you for the opportunity to present the Smiths Falls Business Retention, Expansion, and Investment Attraction Strategy, or short form Economic Development Strategy, tonight. I really appreciate this opportunity. So what we want to do is we want to go through this plan, and it provides a clear actionable roadmap for supporting existing businesses, attracting new investment, and really kind of building that economic resilience over the next number of years. So I'm going to just take around 10 minutes or so to walk through some of the key findings, opportunities, and actions that are included in the strategy, and then we'll of course have opportunity for questions, comments from council. So Emily, if you want to go to the project mission and success slide. We do like to just start with a quick recap of what we as the Optimus SBR team were asked to do in supporting this strategy development. And really our objective was to do exactly that, to support the creation of a multi-year plan that includes direction, goals, and outcomes associated with a successful implementation. And in doing that, part of what we were measuring ourselves on were to ensure that we had engagement with key stakeholders, that we were able to identify, determine the economic priorities, the economic development priorities for Smiths Falls, and to identify and develop opportunities and recommendations that could capitalize on each of those. On the next slide, when we talk about economic development and these types of discussions, we like to also start with the role of economic development in the community. And really the key piece here is that the idea of a roadmap is critical because of course, economic development doesn't happen by accident. It does require that strategic coordination between businesses, levels of government, community partners. And that's something that we've really reflected in this strategy. And of course, as we've been going through this, we've recognized and had discussions around how the plan really does need to strengthen the economic competitiveness of Smiths Falls, really focuses on incremental and continuous improvement of the economic development ecosystem and the coordination, and I'll speak more to that in some of the initiatives. Target investments and dollars, recognizing that resources are not unlimited. So really understanding where there's an opportunity to focus. That's part of why we do these plans. And of course, to create measurements and targets for understanding the success that we're working towards. So ultimately, the plan should outline where we're going and how we'll get there. In terms of how we've developed that plan, the plan was developed through a number of inputs, and I'll summarize those on the next slide. But fundamentally, we had a number of discussions, including with members of council in early fall, continued through with the development of what we call the situation analysis. So understanding kind of the strengths, opportunities within the community, had community engagement sessions, which again, I'll speak to on the subsequent slide. And then based on what we observed, what we heard, what we saw in our work, developed a set of draft strategies, socialized those with stakeholders in the community, including various economic development agencies and partners, and worked through a number of revisions and review cycles to make sure that there was a good degree of alignment on the content of the strategy. On the next slide, in terms of some of these inputs, again, we were on site a number of times, conducting kind of community tours, walking the street, so to speak, get a sense of the local environment, had a number of stakeholder engagement activities. And then, as Julia mentioned, we certainly did review past documentation and past strategies to understand where there's opportunity to build on previous work. In terms of the stakeholders that we did speak to, on slide 7, so certainly we had consultations with council and the mayor. Sorry, Emily, if you want to go slide 7. There we go. With council, with council and the mayor, with the leadership team or members of the leadership team of the town, as well as various economic development agencies or key stakeholders, including the chamber, the DBA, Valley Heartland, Small Business Advisory Center, and so on. Really did look to gather input from those key stakeholder groups. We also had a series of open town halls, which included business owners, members of the development community, as well as a town hall session that was open to the community at large. So in terms of the strategy and the path forward. So if you go to the next slide, Emily. In terms of what we heard, so we certainly heard that with respect to small businesses and economic sustainability, so there is certainly a desire to ensure that the economy remains diverse, that we do not become reliant on one industry, and there's a desire for that diversification to allow for continued growth. We heard about housing and accommodation and short-term rentals and challenges there, and potential opportunities to increase capacity in that respect to facilitate growth in other areas. We heard a lot about youth and trades. Very interesting theme that came up, not something that we always hear, but did come up in Smith Falls, and certainly the desire to lean into that and a bit of a demand for expanding opportunities within the trades, and we'll speak to that in a moment. We spoke a lot around infrastructure and future growth, specifically related to industrial and commercial lands and challenges there with respect to limited supply of shovel-ready opportunities and the efforts required to unlock and capitalize on those. And then around recreation and culture, really a sense that the town is on this cusp of a very positive culture, recreation set of opportunities, and a desire to lean into that as well and really enhance the recreation and cultural assets to attract visitors, but also improve quality of life and attract individuals to the downtown area. And again, that's something that we also saw highlighted in documents like the Arts Master Plan, which the town recently finalized. What that means for opportunities ahead, and what you'll see is kind of being capitalized on in our strategy, is that when we put all these findings together, you really kind of understand that Smith Falls is really strategically located within a very strong economic corridor for the province, and has a strong industrial history with a lot of opportunity. And we really think, and what we heard talking to stakeholders, is that's absolutely something that we can capitalize on. There's a economic development ecosystem that's willing and wanting to make positive impacts and facilitate change, and has a track record of doing that. And what we've done is we've really developed a common vision for the success, and a ability to coordinate some of those activities towards that kind of shared vision. So at the end of the day, this is really a plan that is looking to coordinate that economic development across stakeholders and working together as a team of players within that ecosystem. So diving into the vision for the BRE and investment attraction strategy, and then a few of the key pillars and priorities. So we really did design the economic development mission statement as a guide or a North Star for what we want to see in the community. And overall, we've defined this as a mission that's to build a thriving, self-sustainable community that is resident-focused, visitor-friendly, and attractive to talent and investment. By fostering and supporting the growth and resiliency of the local economy and leveraging our unique human and natural assets, we will continue to grow a vibrant community that brings prosperity and pride to all. So as we went through and we tested that and developed that with various stakeholders, it really resonated. And really the bold words there specifically resonated. The idea of a thriving and self-sustainable community, the idea of attracting or attractive talent and investment, and certainly the idea of growing a vibrant community that's prosperous and brings pride. All themes that were absolutely emphasized as we spoke with stakeholders and had conversations around what are we working towards? What is that unifying vision for the town? So that's the mission that we came up with, which again is also we feel aligned with the town's overall vision in terms of how we get there. So on to the next slide. Starts with some of those shared values. I won't spend too much time on this, but they are obviously quite important. And collectively, we want to make sure that these are what we're seeing reflected as we move forward. And some of these areas are impactful and driving measurable change. We want to make sure that the actions that we're taking are meaningful and are going to make a difference. Again, resources are not unlimited. We want to make sure that we're doing this in a way that is transparent and building communication and trust in the different steps of the process, that we're showing the community the direction that we're taking and the progress that we're making. Recognizing that there's many stakeholders involved in this ecosystem, want to make sure that we're supporting one another, that we're championing mutual collaborations, and we're sharing success stories across all stakeholders. Accountability and being accountable. Want to make sure that when we identify actions and groups and individuals take on initiatives, that they're accountable for seeing through those commitments, and we're also measuring those or understanding where there's maybe opportunities to continue to refine. And then finally, respect and community focus. So again, given the complexity and the at times the challenging discussions that need to be had, we do and certainly stakeholders reiterated this, and we're bought into this, that there's an understanding that despite challenging conversations that occasionally need to have, everyone's in this for the same reason, that is ultimately the development and the betterment of the community and the local economy. So those are some of the values that underpin the strategy. Just a couple more minutes on the initiatives and the actions, and Emily can probably just flip to the next slide in terms of how we're going to do this. So we've got 4 main goals. So Emily, if you want to flip to the slide 15. So first, around creating a high-functioning, business-friendly economic development ecosystem. This is all around attracting and retaining businesses, really kind of positioning Smith Falls as a very positive business community. It's also around making it easier for businesses to start, to grow, to succeed in Smith Falls. Goal around engaging youth by leaning into the trades. So I spoke already about how we heard that as a theme. We heard the trades as a vital sector, vital support to the local economy. So looking at how we can do more to support youth entry into a trades career. Building a strong entrepreneur and small business community. Those are the backbones of our local economy, but they need support to grow. So a number of initiatives around that area. And then, of course, a goal around positioning the town for investment and attraction success. So understanding how Smith Falls can be investment ready, so to speak, to attract new businesses and industries, and putting in place steps that will position the town as a destination for business growth. So just a couple moments on diving into a little bit of these. It was requested that we spend a little bit of time looking at some of the details around these, and I'm just going to speak to these at a high level. No expectation that you can necessarily read the detailed print here on this slide, but certainly it's further elaborated in the strategy itself. So as I mentioned, the first goal around creating that business-friendly economic development ecosystem recognizes that this doesn't happen in isolation. It requires that well-coordinated ecosystem of businesses, municipal government, various community and business organizations. And this goal is all around removing any barriers, continuing to build that collaboration, continuing to make Smith Falls a top choice for businesses looking to grow. So there's an initiative around reestablishing that unified leadership group for economic development, a single coordinated body of key economic development partners that can allow for clear and candid discussion and make sure that we're streamlining and doing everything we can to sort of maximize the effectiveness of groups like the Chamber, like the DBA, like Valley Heartland, municipal staff. There's a commitment from everybody to work together, and this is providing a mechanism and a forum to support that. hosting an annual State of the Economy engagement event, allowing for regular updates to the business community on potentially trends or town's initiatives, upcoming opportunities to encourage that dialogue between the municipality, between businesses on an ongoing basis, something we heard as a desire from stakeholders. There's an initiative around updating bylaws and policies from the town's perspective, again, with that idea of ensuring that, requirements are clear, efficient, they don't hinder business growth. An example of one of those included in the details would be looking at an idea of a reverse vacancy tax to activate under or used or vacant properties within the community. And then the idea of ongoing consultations and process to establish that regular feedback cycle to hear from businesses on a formal way around what are some of those barriers, what are some of those challenges that policy or bylaw changes could impact. So really, this is a goal around ensuring Smiths Falls is really known as that place where businesses can start, can grow, can thrive for the long term. Second goal around leaning into the trades. So again, as we had conversations with businesses related to manufacturing, construction, and skilled trades, we heard that there is a desire to promote skilled trades, to attract and retain talent. It's also a long-term investment for the town to have a talented and skilled workforce that can support local industries. And so one of the first initiatives that we've proposed and that we've developed is creating that group of youth representatives to provide input on how to improve access and opportunities within the trades, serve as almost like the youth ambassadors for Smiths Falls and start to bridge that gap between schools, employers, and various partners in the economic development ecosystem. An initiative around working with local education institutions to support co-op placements, high school placements, support the development of hands-on experience for local students, and also encouraging businesses to take on apprentices or interns through coordinated programs. In Opportunity 2.3 that was very well received, the idea of developing a scholarship fund for trade certification and providing that opportunity for students pursuing trades within the community. And then the mentorship programs in terms of connecting young people with experienced trades people, providing career advice, providing guidance for the early phase of their careers. The third goal is all around supporting entrepreneurs and small businesses. I mentioned that these are the backbone of the Smiths Falls economy. So certainly opportunity or recommendation around expanding business workshops, networking events, and material available to small businesses, working with the various partners to understand what could be further customized, sector-specific or issue-specific material that the businesses could benefit from. Continuing to partner with groups like the Chamber and the DBA regarding the shop local type campaigns, building on the existing initiatives underway, and further developing exposure and awareness to the community through digital print media mechanisms, and making sure that we're highlighting that storytelling element of that. Continuing to celebrate success and annual success stories among the community. The idea of launching pop-up programs, an opportunity to perhaps transform vacant spaces into temporary retail or arts or small businesses location, could create opportunities for individuals to test out things like a home-based business in a larger setting. And then around the fourth goal, for investment and for building investment and traction success. So certainly the first action here is the idea of leaning in, embracing the industrial nature of Smiths Falls, lean into the history and base of the existing businesses and promote the success of the sector. Make it a known story that this is a good place for businesses with an industrial and manufacturing lens. It's a location where they can come and they can thrive. reviewing and continuing to review mixed use and smart density policies to ensure that there's no unintended stifling of innovative businesses or development opportunities. Spoke earlier in terms of findings around short-term accommodation. So looking to establish that program to incentivize hotel developments, develop that accommodation aspect of Smith Falls, which really kind of leads to some of the other initiatives around potentially developing opportunities around sports strategies and sports tourism strategies, which is the final point on the slide. And then finally, looking to bring an industrial park to market. We know that Smith Falls has limited shovel-ready industrial land today, but looking to work with partners to identify opportunities in that domain. So those are really the key points of the initiatives that we wanted to highlight. Overall, as I said, we really do feel that this strategy, this plan, positions Smith Falls in a very positive perspective, a very strong starting point, and is certainly something that can guide the organization and the town over the next 5 or so years. So with that, I'll pause for comments, questions, of course, from members.
Thank you so much. So thank you very much to the consulting team and to Manager Crowder. We appreciate your work on this plan. Obviously, you've spent a lot of time on it, so I thank you for that. And before we go to questions, I just also want to take a minute to thank our business community associations who have reviewed several drafts of this plan as it was being developed. And I know they continue to review this plan and provide feedback. So it really shows me that they're demonstrating the value that they bring to this community, and that's really important. I hope we can continue to build strong relationships with each of these groups. It's not our role to maximize their effectiveness, rather to stand alongside them as partners on both of our work plans. So on that note, I'll ask if there are questions or comments about the plans. Councillor McGuire.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I appreciate getting the plan tonight. For me, reading over the plan makes me ask, what are we trying to accomplish with our economic development in the town? And it's the same question that comes up for me every time. It's the same question that comes up when we get these projects for capital funding. Because for me, the bulk of the content in this report does not achieve what I see as being priorities for economic development. In my head, it's a two-part role. There's the sales part of it where, we've got that story of the Hershey's executives coming through town, and we pulled them over and took them out for lunch and gave them a great day, and they built a factory here. So there's that sales pitch side of showing why we're a great community to invest in. And then there's the side of trying to, once you've made that sales pitch, getting that through all of the things it needs to get through to pass the standards to have a successful business operating. Once those businesses are operating, we need to make sure that we're not putting up roadblocks and we're keeping it easy for people. And I think the third thing that we still don't have good information on, despite it's definitely been asked many times from the Horseshoe, is what's our vacancy rate of existing facilities, especially in the downtown core? How many square meters do we have that are vacant? How does that number fluctuate year over year? And what are we doing to facilitate businesses to fill those spaces, which goes back to the sales pitch? For me, when I look at these 4 strategic goals, create a high-functioning, friendly economic ecosystem. We've had an economic development committee in the past. It was a big use of staff resources. It was a lot of meeting time, and it wasn't meeting objectives, so we cut it. There's nothing in this report that would say this is how you could do it differently to make it more effective, and I don't see why doing that again would be helpful. Creating an annual engagement report to the community. We do annual reports already. Update policies, bylaws to support a business environment. It's too vague. What are the policies and bylaws? We get lots of emails from the business community when they're trying to do an event or trying to open a business, and there's roadblocks, but there's nothing tangible in this. When it comes to youth engagement in the trades, I think it's a great thing. We need more of it, but the high school is the lead on that. The school board's the lead on that. And if there's something that we can do to facilitate the school boards with that, I'd happy to have a conversation with them on how the municipality can support them further. But this isn't the role of the municipality, and people pay taxes to their school boards to have that service provided by the school board, not the municipality. The building stronger entrepreneurs and small businesses, a lot of this stuff is a continuation of existing. I'm not seeing a lot of tangible stuff here. piggybacking off things that happened with the DBA and the Chamber and Valley Heartland. And finally, I've got no interest in creating a CIP for hotels. I think hotels are a profitable business. If there's policies or if there's bylaws that we've got that are hindering hotel development in town, then that's something we can look at from a policy perspective. But to create a CIP for hotel development is just not a priority for spending for me. So all aside, I think the best recommendation in the report is to get rid of the business licensing program, and I support that. But that's not enough to, in 47 pages of report, it's not enough for me to justify this. So for me, it would be receive this for information. Thank you for the report, and I think we need to have a bigger conversation of what we're trying to accomplish with our economic development strategy and how much we're going to spend on that next year.
Thank you. Mayor Panko and then Councillor Robinson.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor McGuire, for your comments. I say I share some similar concerns in some ways. The other thing, I guess, the road has changed since we started down this road. And I think last summer, I think probably when this whole process started, last fall, and the challenges we're facing today are much different than what we anticipated last fall. And I don't see that addressed in the report. I think we had a difficult summer last year in many ways. A number of stakeholders came together to try and say, what can we do to try to help drive more traffic to our retail sectors and restaurants last summer. And I think there was a number of initiatives which were carried out, many by our DBA, to help drive traffic to downtown. I think it was successful, but I'm not sure about sustainable. And so it's how do we ensure that we continue to play our role in economic development, which is trying to drive people to utilize the services and stores and restaurants that we have in our community. So it's I guess I think if we were sitting here 5 years from now and looking back at the previous 5 years, what is there in this plan, I think, that would have created success? And second, how do we measure the success? How do we look back and say, well, wow, that really made a difference? And I'm not, there's pieces, I think, which are valuable here, but I think we've also put some pressure on, or not, I guess some onus on partners. And I guess that'd be one of my questions when I can finalize my comments here is, if we believe it's important to reinstitute an economic development committee, I don't know why we would, if it's our responsibility as a council, as a town, why the chamber would be carrying that ball. Because I would think if it's our plan, it's something we probably should be carrying. What else was there here?
Would you like
I guess what,
to answer that first?
Sure. So I guess, yes. So there's three things, I guess, when it comes to the questions right now. One, the onus on the chamber to do the carry, what I think is a very important piece here. And two, we make reference to some planning changes, but I don't see, I would have thought we would have had development services sort of quarterback that part of any change. And the part about community services and community spaces, I would have thought we would have community services involved in that. It doesn't seem to be part of the plan.
Okay. Do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, sure. Through you, Madam Chair. So in terms of, there are a few initiatives that the Chamber felt as going through the plan that they wanted to lead. They were excited about that. One of them was an Economic Development Committee. They thought they were better suited in order to do an Economic Development Committee. It can be more nimble rather than having to set up a traditional committee through the municipality. So that's something that they were really excited to take on, and something that they had actually asked for as part of the development of this. They see a need to have partners come together, but doing it formally underneath the town, there is constraints and constrictions with that. So they felt that that's something that they could take on, as well as a bursary or something for youth in the trades, looking at creating a fund to help local youth who want to take an initiative and go to trades and post-secondary. So those are the two initiatives that they put their hand up to say we're interested in supporting that. In terms of last year, it was a difficult year, not only for our municipality, but communities all over the place. We were able to come together and do some tourism initiatives. And I think a lot of that is focused on tourism. And I think that's what our downtown businesses expect is tourism initiatives, tourism marketing in order to pull in visitors, but also residents to get them to come and shop downtown. So a lot of the tourism information or tourism initiatives are not included in this plan because we're doing a separate destination plan that's going to focus on tourism specifically, tourism marketing, and building up our tourism sector. Sorry, what was your last question, Mayor Panko?
Well, I guess the areas where I would have thought any changes regarding planning should be development services and the community and community services having a role with regards to community development.
So part of the consultation was with community services as well as development services as well to talk about some of the policy work. Some of that was part of zoning changes that we could make. We can look at regulating zoning a little bit more strictly after the OP is done, when we're doing zoning updates to not allow service type businesses on Beckwith Street, looking at policies like the business licensing program and working on changing that or removing that. Jesse talked about the reverse tax vacancy, a reverse vacancy tax where the municipality can implement a tax on vacant units or vacant properties in order to push property owners to make the necessary improvements in order to make it feasible for new businesses to move in there. To Councilor McGuire's question in terms of downtown vacancy, we're at the lowest vacancy rate we have been in years. We've seen, I think it was 46 net businesses over the last 5 years move into our community. So about 96 new businesses had opened and about 40 some had left, whether they moved or they retired. The challenge with the current stock in the downtown, which I've let council know in the past, is that those properties are in need of major renovations. And so new businesses coming into the community don't have the funds in order to make those building improvements. That's really the owner's responsibility to do that. So that's why they continue to sit vacant. So economic development needs to work with the property owners or put in policies in place to have fees and fines and incentives, little nudges to our property owners to sell their building to someone who's actually going to put some work into it or nudge them in order to make the necessary improvements.
Thank you.
If I may finish my.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. So we appreciate the effort towards tourism, and it did help last summer. But our businesses are dependent on customer traffic, 12 months of the year. And so what happens in a summer might be great, but they rely on about a 25,000 population within our catchment area. And I think it's the economic development focus to try and help drive things throughout the year. I think as well, more than relying on tourists, it's relying on the citizens who might live 15 minutes from town, but necessarily may not even know what's in our downtown, or may not know what shops we have here. They come out to Walmart and the grocery store and maybe not see everything else that's around. But the reality, I guess, is that, and the other part, I guess, is when we look at the top 5 industries that were identified here in Figure 1, over half, probably 60%, are retail, trade, or a combination of food service. And the challenge with that is they tend to be lower wage jobs. And so if you're looking at people who are making minimum wage or not much above that, the current economic environment doesn't leave a lot of extra to help support the overall local economy. It's really your focus on essential. So I guess I would be interested, how do we drive greater employment opportunities into our community that are going to result in people earning a living wage or better? And I know we don't have the employment lands necessarily available right now. That's a focus we need to work on. I'm glad that's part of it. But I think having that long-term view about how do we change the dynamics of employment in our community is going to have to be based on probably high demand. And we're not there yet. So I think in the situation we're in right now with the crisis, I appreciate the Chamber's interest in being involved. I think we need to have a further conversation about what makes the most sense from an economic development committee standpoint or a task force of sorts, because we need to take action now. I don't think we can wait for 6 months or a year before we take action.
Thank you. Councillor Robinson?
Thanks, Madam Chair. First off, I'd like to thank you guys for bringing this study to us tonight. I've been looking forward to seeing the results. I do want to say, though, and part of it has been addressed, but I am disappointed that there isn't a focus on tourism. in this document, as it's very important to our community. But what I wanted to really talk about was on page 27, it mentions a working group for community vibrancy. And I've got a couple of things that I'd like to say about that. A key part of community vibrancy is a thriving downtown business district. While we've made significant investments in beautifying Beckwith Street, we still lack a strong business presence that would entice visitors to stop, explore, and spend money in our town. Right now, our business mix seems heavily weighted towards economy stores, which is becoming a saturated market. To create a more balanced and diverse business community, we need to attract higher-end businesses that appeal to a broader demographic and add to the overall economic vitality of Smith Falls. So with that in mind, I got my questions in two parts. And the first part is, what is economic development doing currently to address this gap? And are there any specific strategies in place or in development to attract businesses that will enhance the downtown experience and draw in both residents and visitors?
Thank you. Manager Crowder, any comments?
Through you. And part of the strategy is to help address that and to create targeted investment attraction campaigns to pull in those gaps that we need. I think we all know what those gaps are. The town, from a policy perspective, has limited ability to say what can move in where. We do that through zoning. And so we can tighten those up through zoning. But if our zoning permits retail is a very broad spectrum. So we can't say, no, you can't set up there. So that's part of the challenge and really diversifying that mix. What we can do is actively go out to those businesses that we feel are missing, more of those high-end businesses, and encourage them to come. Tell them what's available. Tell them why Smith Falls is a great place. Show them information and demographics, and say it's not just Smith Falls that you would be serving. It's 75,000 people within Lanark County that's potentially your customer here. And I think working with businesses again to say, maybe we need to look at changing up products. You're right, it is very heavy in certain areas and we don't have those products. But again, we can only suggest and support and give resources to businesses to make changes within their own business in order to get that mix, that what we need that is going to pull in more visitors or really serve our current residents. I think we hear a lot from residents that there's just not enough of the retail that they're looking for in the downtown. And so that's why they go out to other municipalities and to other places in order to shop. So we're looking at business seminars as well, and how to market from a marketing standpoint. There's different levels. There's the business, there's the DBA, there's the town, there's the region. We're all working together to push out the same message. Come to Smith Falls, shop, come to our businesses, spend your money locally here. Not only to residents, but also to attract businesses. So it's different levels. We can't market specific businesses, but we can market Smith Falls and we can market the downtown and we can market the products and services that we do have through different campaigns. And we have and continue to do that with our partners as well.
Thank you. One follow-up question.
Yeah, just a short thing, which I should have said in the beginning. I actually agree with most of what Councillor McGuire and Mayor Panko said. And in terms of what Councillor McGuire said, I'd be okay receiving this information, but having a broader discussion at a later date.
Thank you. Councillor Quinn?
Thank you. Whatever we do, we have to do it now. We can't wait for 6 months or a year. We need to be moving. We need to get things really looking good. We need to do it quickly. I know we did get together last year, and I know there was things that were put into place that certainly made our downtown more appealing. And that is one of the big things we have to look at is the first impression. So we need a lot stronger bylaw in place. I don't know whether people realize where my little business is on Russell Street. So you turn off at Beckwith Street onto Russell Street, and the first thing you see, first impression. Don't necessarily notice the beautiful drawings and paintings on the side of Shoppers Drug Mart. Instead, we see the garbage can sitting beside Subway. Those are the kind of things that take away from our downtown. Those are the kind of things that need to be strong. The buildings that are downtown that look terrible. The windows are not appealing. Those are some of the things that we need to be very, very strong on, and it needs to be put into place now, not 6 months from now. I do believe that we need a tax put on properties that are empty. So if they're working on the building, if they're renovating, okay, we could give them a bit of time. But there's been buildings downtown that have been sitting empty for a long period of time, and nothing's happening. They're just getting worse. So let's tax them. Let's put that into place. Let's give them not a nudge, a darn good push. We need to be strong, and we need to say what we want in this town and get it happening now. The DBA and the Chamber of Commerce have worked very, very hard to make an impression, and their impressions have been great, but they can't do it alone. They need the support from here, and then they can go further. So let's learn how to work together, not to work against one another. And I do agree. Yes, this study's been good. I have no problem accepting it, but I think we need way more. I don't think there's enough teeth in this thing, in this study, to really move things ahead. And that's what we need to do. We need to tell people and show people that we do have a vibrant town. We do have some great businesses in town, but if we can't get people to stop, they're not going to do anything. And 2 years from now, they're not going to be here. So it's not something that we need to plan for 5 years. It's something that we need to plan for immediately to make people want to stop in town. We also need to promote. And where do we promote? I'm not quite sure exactly where we promote things happening in town, but it can't always be on a cell phone. It has to be, there's lots of people don't use these. We need to have more. We need to have representation at events that are happening. We need to have something in hand to hand out to people so they can take it away with them and say, wow, I'd like to go there. We can do this. It's going to take some work, and it's going to take work now.
Thank you, Councillor Quinn. Councillor McKenna?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks for the report, Team ECDEV. A couple of things. The timing, of course, who knew when we started this that, we're a month away from tariffs and the impact. And however, I'm a big believer in long-term planning, and this is it's not a today plan. It's a strategy. It's where we want to be in 3, 4, 5 years. And it's a guide. It's a roadmap. It's not, I think there definitely will be responses to tariffs and the impact on our economy that are short-term and much broader than that, but that's not what this was about. It still is important. I don't want the other to overtake it. Having said that, I agree with the comments about just the one around youth, and I talked to Julie today about it. The youth in the trades and apprenticeships, I do see that as outside of our lane. And in spite of how we framed it, that's something, if you do a quick search on the internet for youth in the trades or apprenticeships, there's a ton of resources right in Eastern Ontario to support youth. And the school is the primary funnel for that. Could we help inform them? Yes. But I don't think we should be investing in a significant way in that. I 100% support more trade and youth from Smiths Falls involved. And the only other concern I had was the focus on self-sustainability. I never viewed Smiths Falls as self-sustainable. We're a service hub for a much larger region. If Perth gets a factory, we win. If Smiths Falls gets a factory, Perth wins. I would like to shift the focus over the next 3 to 4 or 5 years to being not self-sustainable, but a focus on regional development and factories on that manufacturing side. I'm not talking about our downtown businesses. That is uniquely to Smith Falls. So less insular, more regional focused, not as heavily invested as the plan suggests around youth, and still retaining a long-term vision in spite of today's current. These things will change, we don't know yet. And we may need to dust the plan off, but I think there's lots of information in there to give us the long-term vision.
Thank you. Okay, so thank you. I have a few comments as well, and then we can wrap this up. And it's really echoing what we've already said tonight, which is, for me personally, tourism is a key economic driver. And I know you're working on another plan, but I'd like to really see this incorporated in this one. It's mentioned in the report, but not in the action plan. Smith Falls is at the heart of the Rideau Canal. We are a key tourism opportunity kind of waiting to explode. And we've invested heavily in our tourism areas in both of our museums now, in our waterfront and the boating industry. So I'd like to see this incorporated as one of our key economic drivers. And there should be room if we take out the co-ops. So I would agree with that. So I think what I'm seeing just based on feedback here, Manager Crowder, is that we're looking for a number of edits. And I think if the clerk has those, I have summarized them as well. But if we could leave those edits with you and receive the report with great thanks tonight. Final comments, Mayor Panko?
Yeah, I guess just go back to my question regarding how do we measure success? And I think it's some metrics in here, whether that is the number of businesses in town. I mean, as a small community, it's hard to get some of the measurements that I'd love to see. What's our unemployment rate? What's the average wage? Well, we know what it was in the last census. We'll know what it is in the next census. Where are we after that? So I guess it's how can we build in some key metrics that tell us and milestones along the way how we know that we're making progress.
Through you, Madam Chair. And so we realize that tourism is very important, and that's why we want to do a whole separate plan dedicated to tourism. We felt this was really from the traditional economic development and investment attraction and supporting our local businesses, where, tourism is a whole separate animal. And you're right, we are doing things right now. We are working with our partners as well. The Chamber and the DBA in the town are working on a new Shop Local guide that's showcasing local things and Canada made things. We're going to be putting that out. We did their local eats program this year through the Economic Development Office. Now that we have a full-time tourism resource and a budget to go with it, then we're able to propel into plan. We have a full year for marketing, tourism marketing specifically, and looking at some smaller activations for this year, to do things this year right now, not for 5 years. So we're working on that. That was a challenge, in the past when we didn't have the proper resources in order to implement that. And the DBA and the Chamber were taking a lot of that on, but they have their own mandates. They have their own focuses as well. So we all need to be working together symbiotically and have our own tasks and plans. So we're working together to get the goal. And I think that's what we're doing now. So that's really good. In terms of, like you said, with the youth and the trades, I think it's there to be a supportive role, not to take the bull by the horns and really lead that. We don't have a good understanding of, what the schools are providing, what our students are interested in. We're hearing from the local manufacturers that there is some of a disconnect there. So these initiatives are more about understanding what's happening there and see where we can fit in to help facilitate and to make sure those lines of communications are made between the students and our manufacturing community. Jesse or Brad, do you have anything else to add on some of those comments? Any clarification?
Thank you, Manager Crowder. Councillor McGuire has another comment as well.
Thanks, Madam Chair. So I guess first I want to address that comment because I'm hearing a consensus here that there's no purpose having a trade section in our strategic municipal plan, but then I'm hearing that you think there's still a purpose for that. Is when we get this draft back, is that going to be removed or is that going to be kept in there?
It's council's direction in order to do that. And I think you're talking about the metrics as well. If you look at the appendix, there are some more specific measurements for each of those action plans, which sets out. And I think it's important to remember that we do an annual business survey every year, and we ask those questions. You know, how many people did you employ? Did you increase employment or workforce? Did you lose? Are you looking at hiring? How was your year? So we're gathering those metrics on an annual basis already in order to show improvement and to see where the gaps are, but also where the successes are.
So I think what I'm hearing, just to summarize, Manager Crowder, and just till we get to the point where we can wrap up this discussion, is we really feel there's a need to drive employment. We would like to add tourism as a priority. We want to address the changing economy. We would like to be involved in the development of the ECDEV committee. First impression work is a priority. Co-op programs are not our scope. We would like to have a regional scope, and we would like to include the metrics. Have I captured kind of the key? I'm a good note taker. Very last second, Councillor McGuire, and then we'll move on to the agenda.
I'm not in agreement with this because it's, when I think of ECDEV committee, we've already got two. We've got the DBA and we've got the Chamber of Commerce, and I don't see anything that's happening. That those groups are very proactive and they're doing amazing things, and I'd much rather have the town better support those groups by attending annual general meetings and being involved in those dialogues than creating a third committee, because what we've had in the past is a really fragmented, too many groups, too many conversations, and nothing getting done. So I'd much rather support the groups that are getting stuff done than creating our own group. When it comes to a lot of stuff in this plan is overlapping with community services and with planning. We're about to spend a lot of time talking about official plan and this whole exercise, which is addressing a lot of the planning initiatives in this report. I don't agree with having the duplication of that in both, like, you know, having two groups of staff at the same organization working on having it on similar mandates. And the same with the placemaking community service aspect. So I don't, I'm not sure what we can do. And when it comes to business retention and expansion versus the tourism, we've got the separate tourism plan. I just don't see, for me, it's the kind of things where we had a shoe store, we don't have a shoe store anymore. What did the town do when that was announced to try to facilitate somebody coming in to take it over? What could we do differently in the future? And that's the kind of long-term vision I want to see. The long-term vision isn't this kind of vague, improved bylaws and policies. It's, year one, what can we do? Year five, what can we do if we keep investing in this? And there's just not that substance here to justify keep working on it right now. So I'd much rather have that economic development and tourism discussion of same as we do for our strategic plan, what's the vision for this for 5, 10, 15, 25 years? Because I don't see a vision in this document right now, and I don't see any advantage of continuing to invest staff time and resources in it.
Thank you. Okay, so Manager Crowder, I think you got a lot of feedback tonight, and I'd like to thank the consultants again for coming and for hearing us out and for all your good work on this. So we'll leave it there and move along to our next item.
It's almost okay. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item priority issue 10.2, official plan vision with Manager Grenke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is the first of two reports on the official plan this evening, and I'm pleased to welcome Rory Baksh from Dillon Consulting, who's assisting the town in developing the new OP. I think you've met Rory on a few occasions with this project and other projects. So while the content and the recommendations being presented this evening are fairly high level, is nonetheless an important milestone on the project, and we're interested to get council's feedback that we're on the right track. So over the past number of months, we've reported to council periodically on the work being done on the new official plan. It's included a lot of background research on existing plans and policies that council has adopted over the last few years and will be carried forward here, as well as consultation with residents, stakeholders, and the management team as a whole. So the consultation done over the last few months with Dillon and previously in the summer of 2023, when we identified the 5 key themes, was intended to take a measure of where we are as a community and where we hope to be. So the important thing to emphasize is that this official plan is not just a policy guide for planning staff, but is the town's guide for growth and development as a whole. It impacts all of us because at its core, it expresses council's values and priorities, which ultimately inform land use decisions and guide what the town will look like over the next 25 years. And from what we've heard, residents and town departments expect the town to grow and hope that this growth happens sustainably, logically, and in a way that retains our community as a nice place to live and accessible and inclusive to all people, regardless of age and income. So the official plan will be a comprehensive policy-based guide to development and growth in the town, but underpinning that is a vision premised on what do we want to look like in 25 years. So the vision that we're proposing is in 25 years, Smiths Falls will be a dynamic, inclusive, and thriving community that meets the needs of its growing population. Smiths Falls will be a hub for diverse housing, strong social supports, and vibrant neighborhoods with local employment opportunities. Our town will be sustainable and well connected with an attractive downtown and mobility options for everyone. Smiths Falls will be a place where all residents can live, work, and play, celebrating our unique cultural, natural, and economic features. So supporting that vision are five strategic directions, which are based on the individual consultation themes that we've developed earlier. And it's common practice in long-range planning, official plans, that communities focus that vision on priority areas that they're looking at. So this report also presents strategic directions that outline in one or two sentences how we'll advance these themes and bring them to life in policy. So that relates to, of course, housing, downtown revitalization, transportation, sustainability, and community spaces. So official plans are they're updated every 5 to 10 years. But when we're doing an official plan update, we have to look, of course, a lot further because we're looking at growth planning. We're looking at decisions that are going to impact the community over a much longer period of time. And that's why we look much further, in this case, 25 years. And then we test once we have that 25-year plan, we test it every 5 to 10 years just to see is it still working. So 25 years out, the question will with crystal ball is did we achieve what this vision is set out to? So at this point, the vision is a high level, and council's it's presented to council's consideration. We would propose that it be included as text in the new official plan and anchor the rest of the official plan. So there's lots of work, of course, still to be done on policies. Staff and the Dillon team are collaborating on a first draft there. But at this point, we're looking to confirm the vision and strategic direction to make sure that we're on the right track so far. I'd certainly like to thank Dillon Consultants, as well as the public and stakeholders who've been involved right from the beginning of the process, as well as the management team, the entire management team that's also been part of the conversations as well. And Rory, is there anything you'd like to add at this point?
I don't think I could have said anything better myself. Probably done a great job.
Thank you. So at this point, we'll look for council's feedback on the recommendation being presented in the report.
Thank you, Manager Cranky, and thank you, Rory, for being here tonight. We appreciate it. Councillor McKenna.
Thank you very much. I'm in support of the vision down that statement in 25 years. It's a long way off, but if we could achieve that, I would be happy. I won't be around to see it, but it would be a wonderful place to live. Thank you.
Anything else? Councillor McGuire?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thanks, Carl, and to the consultants, Rory. It feels good to read it. It's like this be exciting to be in 25 years. The only comment I had was for transportation. If we could put some kind of reference to active transportation in number 4, that was my only recommendation.
Thank you. Mayor Panko?
Thanks, Carl, Rory. I say this. The vision statement is good, but it doesn't. How do I say this? It doesn't extract a lot of emotion, and so it's correct in many ways. But I think it can use some oomph. Something that's going to make it a little bit more of a wow factor. rather than meet the needs of a growing population, it's to have an outstanding quality of life, as an example. The strong social supports, important, but not under our mandate. It's more of a county provincial. So, and then when it comes to employment opportunities, I think we always want to make sure we have employment opportunities, but I think it's employment opportunities are going to support the right population, and attract the right population to our community. So employment opportunities are going to be, there's employment opportunities today, but do they truly meet the needs of our community? And if I go back to my comment in the previous session, if we want to make sure that everyone in our community is at least making them a living wage. Because without a living wage, there's going to be a detriment to their quality of life. So it's factored in some of those considerations that I think can add a little bit more, I don't know what the right word is, but a little more
Inspiration.
wow factor with our vision statement. And the 5 strategic directions, I support the 5.
Councillor McKenna, you want to add to that or subtract?
Well,
that?
just the mayor and I don't agree on everything. With the vision I saw this is the official plan vision and not our marketing of our town vision. This is for anything, it's more of an internal. So I didn't need the wow factor. Official plans are meant to be boring, right? No, they are. That's going to guide us. I'm not saying they're not important, because they are, but we've got a marketing and tourism and economic development side that's going to take that language and turn it into something to market. So I was comfortable with that. I understood the language, but I could be talked out of it.
Okay.
Now that we've insulted our manager and the consultants.
Critical document, critical.
It is.
Exciting document.
Any other comments or feedback? Okay. So,
Councilor McGuire.
Just if there's consensus or not on the active transportation.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
So it looks like you may have an edit on the active transportation and a few other comments from the mayor. And I don't think anyone else has concerns with the vision statement. So I'll leave. I'm sorry, okay. Mayor Penkin. I'll leave that with you, Manager Grenke. Okay. Thank you. And moving on, you have another report, 10.3, settlement area boundary expansion.
Thank you. The second report this evening takes a first look at some of the land use designations that will form part of the new official plan. While we anticipate that redevelopment and intensification will take place throughout the town, we've seen evidence of that the last few years. The part of the scope of this OP project was to take a closer look at what we've identified as 4 strategic opportunity areas. And these are areas within our municipal boundaries that have been historically underdeveloped for a variety of reasons and will likely take in the bulk of the residential and employment area growth that we expect over the next 25 years. So the report essentially does 2 things that are related. Firstly, it includes a technical brief relating to the settlement area boundary expansions. So this is a technical requirement as per the provincial planning statement. The land need study that council accepted a couple of years ago identified that we need more land designated to meet residential, employment, and institutional land uses than we have available and designated for right now. So that's no surprise. We've seen a lot of development over the last few years that has sort of filled in almost all of what we've currently designated for development. So that means we need to look into the development reserves that our current OPs identified, and the PPS sets out some criteria to ensure good land use planning. So I think it's important to note as well that the new PPS adopted last year has softened the language a little bit, so it's a little less hard and fast on the exact numbers, the exact acres. It's not necessarily the sort of zero-sum game it may have been in the past, or if you add an acre here, you have to take away an acre there. These are guides. You need to work with them. They need to be defensible and justifiable, but we're not necessarily going to need to be precise. logical places to expand. So the criteria under the PPS that we need to satisfy before we can expand them is that these are serviceable. We're not expanding into prime agricultural land or other protected other land that's protected by provincial policy, and that it's a logical and progressive expansion of our urban settlement boundary. So the report looks at the Gallipo Center and sort of the Lawrence Street extension as logical places to accommodate the bulk of our residential employment and institutional development. So institutional, of course, refers to schools and other public buildings. So with respect to the Gallipo Center, the focus is outside the ring road. The existing plan has designated some of the vacant land along Queen Street for highway commercial development as well. It hasn't developed that way, but it's on the books, and it proposes to sort of phase residential and institutional development sort of up from Queen Street up towards that's the logical direction up towards the existing developed area. I think the important thing is we're not going to want to see development sort of piecemeal here, there, and everywhere on the site together. It should be a logical, phased, and sort of progressive development, whichever direction that we choose. So I think there's obviously some work that needs to there's some work that we would need to look at there. The tax agreement with Montague being one of them, but that is ongoing. But potentially some of that development may be a bit of a longer term matter. So Lawrence Street the extension of Lawrence Street would help fill the gap as well, potentially in the shorter term. That triangle that between the border of Adironto, Lawrence Street, and the rail line is an interesting one, and certainly there's a little bit of discussion there about how to best plan for that, considering that it is a functional extension of an established residential community in Adironto, and also a community that within the town of Smith Falls boundaries beyond that. But it's also close to the potential expansion of a business park. So at this point, the tentative recommendation, again, these are all subject to change. The tentative recommendation is looking at potential residential development within that triangle, and working with, obviously through future planning policies, trying to manage that sort of compatibility question with adjacent uses. So we've heard certainly from the previous report and the land need study, we need more employment land in the town. We're almost full right now. Part of the project of this official plan is to identify, designate, and get as close to shovel ready as possible. And the preliminary recommendation here is that that employment land be an extension on the south side of Lawrence Street, basically between Lorne and the hydro corridor, so adjacent to the Canopy bottling plant. It seems to be a very logical way to sort of extend development that way, and also there's enough to meet those 25-year growth horizon, but it can also continue to be expanded in the future. So that's a logical expansion there of our business park. So in terms of the consultation to date on that project, there are a variety of parcel fabrics in our opportunity areas. The Lawrence Street extension, there's 13 separate roll numbers, and the Maisie and Cornelia corridor has 30. So while some of these properties are commonly owned, with the town owning a couple more, clearly there's a broader array of potential interests compared to the other two sites that have one or two owners and can involve more of a focused consultation. So to date, we have reached out in a couple of ways to property owners advising of the OP process, and we've chatted with a few of them, with some more conversations booked later this week. That being said, it's important to emphasize that conversation with the owners of the properties in the opportunity area, like all the consultation that we're doing on this official plan through this process, it's not a one and done. It's not a one and done thing. We will remain open to outreach and feedback ongoing, both through our formal sessions as well as any other time somebody wishes to send me an email. So we expect that there will be more formal and direct outreach, as well as more interest as we move our planning in these areas from the higher level into specific land use policy and implementation tools. So I think right now we're looking at sort of a broader, high level, this is what we're thinking of as to how we'd like to plan for these sites. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done as we arrived to a first draft of the OP for council public consultation, as well as final draft. So the Maisie and Cornelia corridor, there's work obviously will need to be done to sort of interface with the natural heritage features we have, look at phasing, servicing, and sort of the gateway opportunities there, and sort of develop a policy right now. So the plan right now is looking at kind of a mixed use mixed use residential commercial development, more of a focus on residential, I think, than we have right now. Right now, there's a sort of a very catch-all uptown mixed use designation that is not terribly focused, but allows a whole range of uses. So I think right now we're looking at sort of focusing that and establishing a defined community vision for what it'll look like. There's work to be done there. Ferguson and Ferreira, I think it's the lands are currently designated for a business park that never quite built out the way it was anticipated, especially as the Bellamy Farm and Ferreira Meadows developed for residential purposes, and it kind of exists now in that area that's in between a corridor commercial area and a residential neighborhood. So there's that little part of that process will be defining the highest and best use. Doesn't necessarily mean we're going to be looking at mixed use buildings, but potentially some parts of that site are better off as commercial, some parts of that site are better off as residential. And as this unfolds, the planning process will sort of identify that setting, set out the specific expectations, looking at density. If residential, are we looking at high density, medium density, low density? We have a Cataraqui Trail, we have some mature trees, some real opportunities to potentially leverage those assets that are already there to create some development that's a little bit that's unique and special here in the town of Smith Falls. So that's some of the work we'll be looking to sort of flesh that out and expand that in the future. The Lawrence Street extension, I think regardless of which way we go with respect to residential or employment development there, we'll have to work on ensuring that development is compatible. So industrial development's a little bit different now than it was in the past. We're not looking as much as the sort of smokestack industries we saw beforehand. There's more of a focus on like business parks, logistics, transportation, which have different set of impacts on neighboring communities. So we need to be outlining those expectations, looking at sort of density, performance standards, and also looking at the hydro corridors and natural district boundary to the south. I think we would naturally, if we're looking at employment lands down Lawrence Street, we'd cross-pollinate that with the work of the transportation master plan. And this is an example, I guess, of where including the transportation master plan and the official plan project as a single big project is helpful, because the land use planning and the transportation master planning can kind of exist collaboratively and sort of define, if we expand industrial development down here, do we need to expand transportation networks, and what's the trigger for that? So all of those questions are going to be answered as we move forward. Gallipo Center policy is working with very unique, the existing official plan policy, and certainly when we're looking at a new official plan policy that sort of evolves from what we have, it works with the unique attributes and layout of the site, which is informed by its historic use. So if we are looking in the long term at development outside the ring road, we'd be looking at connectivity with the rest of the town, transportation again, green space, long-term phasing, so that it all makes sense. So I think at this point we're just again, we're looking for council to provide feedback as to whether we're on the right track as it relates to the settlement area boundary expansions and sort of those high level plans for visions, I guess, for the four opportunity areas. So at this point, we're recommending that council accepts these recommendations in principle to serve as a baseline, since that will, of course, assist the rest of the technical work going forward. And nothing here being presented is locked in, of course. It helps us make it, facilitates the work moving forward. But as consultation emerges, as things come up, it's natural that they do. It's certainly possible that, or even likely that some of these will change between now and when we present the first draft to council and when we present final drafts that are ready for approval. So again, I'd like to thank Rory and his team at Dillon, as well as the OP steering committee for the feedback that they've provided on this, and we'll welcome any feedback and questions from council.
Thank you, Manager Grenke. I'm seeing some nods and thumbs up around the table. We do have a question from Councillor McKenna.
Thank you. I'm supportive of the recommendation. I had a couple of questions. We understand that the high-speed rail is still, well, it's been announced, Alto, as I understand it's called. And we're probably at least a couple of years away from knowing details about whether that does or doesn't stop near us. But the other is we have a significant land used by the current rail system. Do we have any sense, or is there consultants who have a sense of what the long-term plan is for rail, freight rail, that uses that significant? Because it kind of divides our community and our. Do we know if they're going to be in business in 25 years? Is there any consultants who have a long-term vision on that?
Through you, Madam Chair, it's not something that I'm directly aware of, but that's an excellent question, certainly given the scale of the land use in question. But I'll turn that to Rory in case he's had experience on working with these matters.
Rory, if I could ask you to come to the microphone. Sorry, thank you.
I didn't expect someone to know exactly, but it forms all sorts of boundaries. It's these impediments or opportunities.
Yeah, in terms of specific insight on the corridor itself, I'm not able to say anything. I just simply have a very broad, generalized observation I can share, because we do have Kansas City CPR as a client of ours, and we've been talking about the impact to the tariffs on their business. And their perspective is they're expecting freight rail to continue to see prosperity in the foreseeable future. So again, very, very big picture comment on the future of freight rail.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you, Councillor McGuire?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. Thanks, Carl. I have a question on with the map of recommended boundary expansions that's used in the report. It's not updated with the Ferrera developments for residential, just for the housing. So it's hard to tell what's being used and what's not. For the square that's adjacent to Rita Lakes, in kind of the southwest portion of the map, is that plot been fully developed or plans to be developed at this point, or is it what percentage of that's vacant right now?
Sorry, could you clarify which?
Down here.
Yes. So of the square that you're referring to Councillor, I would say that the majority of that is developed. A portion of it, that's the site where the Smith Falls District High School is located, as well as where the long-term care home is in the process of construction. There's about 15 acres, no, I think maybe a little bit less. There is some land that's accessed by a couple of unopened road allowances off Pearl Street. There is the potential for a small residential subdivision there. So there is some, not a lot of available development in that site, but a lot of it is already spoken for with existing and planned development.
Thanks.
Follow-up question?
Through the chair, yeah, please. I'm not sure, I might be mistaken, but is all the land that's been studied part of the Montague Agreement? I think just the commercial section references it in the appendix, but
so
for the tax sharing agreement, is any of the land exempt from that with Montague?
So I believe, and Clerk Costello could correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that the Montague tax sharing agreement relates only to the Gallipo Center lands. It doesn't relate to the lands at the end of the 13 parcels at the end of Lawrence Street.
Mayor Panko is nodding his head over here.
That's my understanding, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, just so to clarify, it's the blue or the teal?
Yes.
That's the only section?
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? Okay.
Good.
Looks like you have your support. Thank you so much. And thank you again, Rory, for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. Wrapping up our priority issues is Director Dober with our annual remuneration and expenses report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This report is a legislative requirement in order to provide information to the public and publish the report on the town website. I don't really have much further detail, but would be happy to take any questions that council might have.
Councilor McGuire?
Just like how it's broken out this year for different roles and their numbers, instead of just, it's been lump sum in the past, so that was a big improvement, I thought. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anything further? Thank you, that was brief.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any committee, board, or external organization updates? Seeing none, we have no correspondence item, no notion of motions. I have a motion for adjournment moved by Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor McGuire, that the committee adjourn its proceedings at 6:25 p.m. and stand so adjourned until the next duly called committee meeting. Thank you very much.
I'm sending regrets for council.
Mayor Penko.
Okay, welcome back everyone to this meeting of Smith Falls Town Council from Monday, March 17th, 2025. I will open the meeting with our land acknowledgement on March 17th, 2025. We acknowledge that the sacred land on which Smith Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and has rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We're grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in northern we might meet here today. We're also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smith Falls. We're mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, be mindful of generations to come. We'll call the meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. Ask for approval of the agenda with Councillor Miller, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Robinson that the March 17th, 2025 regular council meeting agenda be approved as circulated.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Miller, seconded by Councillor Robinson, that the March 17th, 2025 regular council meeting agenda be approved as circulated. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Disclosure of any pecuniary interest and or conflict of interest in general nature thereof. See none. Councillor McGuire, you have the approval of minutes.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Miller that, sorry, it moved around over here. That the minutes of the March 3rd, 2025 council meeting be approved as circulated.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor McGuire, seconded by Councillor Miller, that the March 3rd, 2025 council meeting be approved. Council meeting be approved as circulated. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Council reports, updates, and mayor's announcements. I'm going to start with the reports first. Just, oops, I got to get my details here. Okay. So I just want to take a moment and recognize member of council, Councillor Quinn, who received a King's Coronation Medal on the weekend. Mm-hmm. And is that what we see here?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll give you a chance to show that in a moment, but King's Coronation Medal was marked, introduced and marked the coronation of King Charles III on May 6, 2023, honors those who have made outstanding contributions to their communities. And the award is designed to commemorate this historic event. It's presented to individuals who've shown exceptional leadership, service, and dedication to their communities. Recipients come from various sectors, from community service to local governance, all play pivotal roles in shaping their communities. And the award on the weekend, maybe Councillor Quinn can say a little bit more, but I also noticed that Bailey Anderson was a recipient. She wasn't able to be there, I guess, but Bronwyn and her mom was there. A number of other people in the area, of course, who we may know. Travis Malamoff, from our paramedic, Atlantic County Paramedics. Jeff Mills, who has been a long time member of the broader community, helped serve on one of our task forces going back the previous term. And then a number of people from the region. So very exciting day, Councillor Quinn. So over to you.
It was a very exciting day, and I was very honored to receive this award. And the medal is lovely, certainly is. And like you said, there were people from the area, like Corey Earl. People have heard of him. He received an award for this award also. So did Bailey Anderson, Mary and Wally Cook, Kenneth Armstrong. It was really a lovely, lovely event. It was very nicely put on, and it was an honor. It was an honor to receive this. And these were people, just, everyday people that are out in our communities doing things, working, and quietly. But it was wonderful to see them all recognized and the medals handed out. And there was 24 medals handed out that particular day. Yes.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other reports from members of council this evening? No, I've got a few proclamations myself. First one is International Day of Elimination of Racial Discrimination, March 21st, 2025. Whereas March 21st is the International Day of the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, which is a day dedicated to acknowledging, challenging, and eliminating racism. Whereas the rights to equality and non-discrimination are cornerstones of human rights law, as in Article 1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which states that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. Whereas racial discrimination is a universal issue that divides communities and threatens the political, social, economic, and cultural foundations on which communities are built. Whereas every day, each and every one of us can stand up against racial prejudice, hatred, and intolerant attitudes. Therefore, I, Sean Panko, Mayor of the Town of Smith Falls, do hereby proclaim March 21st, 2025, International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination in the Town of Smith Falls. The second is World Water Day 2025, whereas the theme of World Water Day 2025 is glacier preservation. Whereas glaciers are critical to life, their meltwater is essential for drinking water, agriculture, industry, clean energy production, and healthy ecosystems. Whereas rapidly melting glaciers are causing uncertainty to water flows with profound impacts on people and the planet. And whereas global reductions in carbon emissions and local strategies to adapt to shrinking glaciers are essential, whereas this World Water Day, we must work together to put glacier preservation at the core of our plans to tackle climate change and the global water crisis. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Sean Panko, Mayor of the Town of Smith Falls, do hereby proclaim March 22nd, 2025, as a World Water Day 2025 in the Town of Smith Falls, and encourage our citizens to work together to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and manage meltwater more sustainably for people and the planet. And the final proclamation is Purple Day, internationally recognized for epilepsy awareness. Whereas Purple Day for Epilepsy was founded in 2008 by 9-year-old Cassidy Megan of Nova Scotia, as she was motivated by her own struggle with epilepsy. Whereas Cassidy started Purple Day for Epilepsy in an effort to educate others about the disorder and remind those living with seizures that they are not alone. Whereas epilepsy is one of the most common neurological disorders, affecting approximately 1 in 100 people in Canada and 50 million people worldwide. Whereas Purple Day will help epilepsy organizations in Canada and around the world increase awareness, reduce stigma, and empower individuals living with epilepsy to take action in their communities. Whereas Purple Day reminds everyone that people living with epilepsy need understanding and acceptance and deserve comprehensive care and access to innovative treatment options to effectively manage their disease. Now, therefore, be resolved that I, Sean Panko, Mayor of the Town of Smith Falls, do hereby proclaim March 26, 2025 as Purple Day in the Town of Smith Falls, and encourage our citizens to wear purple to support those living with epilepsy, and ask all to make an effort to learn about epilepsy and to fight the stigma. And Clerk Costello, thank you for printing this in purple. Well done. Okay, so moving forward with our agenda, we have a consent agenda with Councillor Miller, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Quinn that items in consent report 04-2025 received from the clerk be received and adopted.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Miller, seconded by Councillor Quinn, that the items in consent report 04-2025 received from the clerk be received and adopted. Clerk Costello, you have the consent report.
Thank you, Your Worship. 2 resolutions this evening, the first being for Council to receive the Community Plan for Safety and Wellbeing for Lanark County and Smith Falls. That was the delegation that was heard by Stephanie Gray last meeting. The second is the 2024 Building Activity and Building Permit Fee Report that was presented by CBO Andrew Willows at the last Committee of the Whole.
Thank you. Anyone like to pull either report for further consideration? I'll go back to the consent report. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And our motion tonight, the first one is with Councillor Robinson, please.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Quinn, that Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls receive the Youth Arena Feasibility Study final report as information and endorse the report in principle. And further, that staff undertake an initial costing for design and build of options 1B, 2A, and 2B. And further, that staff engage with regional municipal partners to commence discussion on cost sharing for this regional initiative. And that staff develop a financial strategy to support the capital and operating costs associated with options 1B, 2A, and 2B.
Thank you. Discussion, please.
Yeah, this was brought forward last week. It's on redevelopment of the youth arena. And we were presented with 4 options. One we decided not to investigate further, but there were 3 that we thought
we should probably investigate a little bit further to find out whether they're financially sustainable and stuff. So.
Thank you. May I have the report, please? Oh. Further comments? Yes, Councilor McGuire.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to record a vote on this tonight. Process-wise, I don't like approving a report that we haven't actually seen the final version of, or receiving a final version for information when we haven't read the final version. I think the edits weren't insignificant as suggested last week, and I'd like to give it a final read over before approving it. I think that when we're looking at spending $30 to $50 million, it's a huge spend. And the business case in the report, even before it's been edited, I thought was weak. I don't see sufficient research has gone into what existing facilities are in town for the business case for the field house. We don't have good data on the usage rates of school gymnasiums. We don't have any information on private facilities that could host things like pickleball. And when we look at this kind of spending, I just don't see how we can afford this. And I don't want to put the town in the same position that previous councils have by tying up a lot of funds and big loans for big arena projects that never see their full potential. I don't see the build it and they will come mentality that was there in the past. I don't want to make those mistakes again. So for me, the bar is not set. It's a high bar, and we haven't achieved that, and I'm not supporting it tonight. So.
Thank you. Would anyone, any further comments, especially relates to Councilor McGuire's comments? Or acting CAO clerk, as the keeper of the report, do you have some comments regarding Councilor McGuire's concerns?
At this time, no, other than to say that the copy edits were certainly underway. We've been going back and forth with some graphic stuff as well. So the copy edits that were directed to be undertaken have been completed. The other pieces are significantly more in depth, and so I'd like to review your requests and just confirm that they are the same as my understanding from last meeting, so that we're not missing anything for you. So those can be done. I would also comment that some of what you're asking is actually going to be embedded within the investigations and the further investigations. A significant portion of that will be embedded within that. As Councillor McKenna said last week, we're not about to go and spend $49 million tomorrow. There's a significant amount of work that will come out of this before we even commit to anything. So I think your questions will be answered as they go. But in terms of the copy edits, those have been completed. We're just going back and forth on some graphic stuff.
Okay, anything further? Okay. So it's moved by Councillor Robinson, second by Councillor Quinn. The Council of Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls received the Youth Arena Feasibility Study Report as information and endorse the report in principle. And further, that staff undertake an initial costing for design and build of options 1B, 2A, and 2B. Further, that staff engage with regional municipal partners to commence discussion on cost sharing for this regional initiative. And the staff develop a financial strategy to support the capital and operating costs associated with options 1B, 2A, and 2B. And a recorded vote has been requested, correct? Yes.
Thank you. If council members could reply with either yay or nay regarding the Youth Arena Feasibility Study resolution. Councillor Brennan is absent. Councillor Quinn.
Yay.
Councillor Miller.
Yay.
Councillor McKenna is absent. Councillor Robinson.
Yay.
Councillor McGuire.
Nay.
Mayor Panko.
Yay.
Carried.
And I'm sorry, who has line 2? I missed.
I do.
Councillor Miller.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Quinn that Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls receive the 2024 Statement of Remuneration and Expenses Report.
Thank you. Discussion, please.
Yeah, so this is a legislated requirement to report on our council expenses to our residents of Smith Falls.
Okay. Any further comments?
I need my paper back.
Oh. Okay. Moved by Councillor Miller, second by Councillor Quinn. The Council Corporation of Town of Smith Falls received the 2024 Statement of Remuneration and Expenses Report. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay. We have no bylaws, inquiries, and announcements. Councillor Quinn.
Thank you, Your Worship. You beat me to my thunder, but thank you very much. But I do want to thank our MP and our MPP Scott Reed and John Jordan for this award. It was absolutely wonderful. And the whole thing was just so lovely, and it was just so very thanking people in the community. And you know what? Having received this, I felt very honored. But I think we need to do a little bit more of this ourselves. You know, maybe there's a lot of people in our community that we could say thank you to them. And I think that's something that not on as grand a scale as what this was, but let's start to create those happy feelings again. That's what was very, very much a part of this day, was people that were there and welcoming and, you know, introducing ourselves. This Dr. Peter Bell, I've never met him before. What a lovely man. There was a lot of lovely people there. So this was an honor, and I'm very appreciative of this, and it was happy, and we need a lot of happy right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further? I'm just going to make one further announcement just regarding our committee vacancies, and we're over the midway point of this term of council, but we have a few committees that are seeking further membership and a good opportunity for people in the community to get involved, maybe without the 4-year commitment. But the Smith Falls for All Committee is still looking for 2 youth. Municipal Heritage Committee is looking for 2 youth. The Climate Protection Working Group looking for 2 youth. Public Arts Advisory Committee is looking for 1 citizen member. The Heritage House Museum Advisory Board has 4 vacancies. The Plan Advisory Committee is looking for 1 citizen member. And the Accessibility Advisory Committee is looking for 1 citizen member. So anyone who's listening has a great opportunity to get involved and to help serve your community. At that, we have no confirmatory bylaw. We have a motion for adjournment with Councillor Robinson, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Miller, that this council adjourn its meetings at 6:47 p.m. and stand so adjourned until the next duly called meeting of council.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor Miller. This council adjourns proceedings at 6:47 p.m. and stands so adjourned unless duly called meeting of council. All in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you.